Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the UFOcast. Today we are talking about Psychobombs, or the Psychobombs. Michael, do you have a dodgy synopsis for us?
I certainly do. Oh, hello to anyone who's just joining us now. However, we are 22 episodes in, so if you're just joining us now, mind you though, you might be watching it on Forces TV, so you might be joining us properly. Anyway,
yes.
So
I mean, that does mean you've only got 21 episodes to catch up on. It's not a massive undertaking, is it?
It's not.
It's not
right.
Like if you had to catch up on all the episodes of the Tin Dog podcast.
Yeah, that's true. There's only 840 odd of those, so that's all right. Yeah. Crashing on. Right, Psychobombs. Here we go. So, here we got a dodgy synopsis. 3 ordinary people are taken over by UFOs and given superhuman powers with which they can destroy Shadow. Clark, a bank clerk, uses his superhuman strength to break in and destroy Fairfield tracking station. Then Mason, a motorway construction man, that's a man who works with stone, yeah, we can deal with that, gets aboard Skydiver 3 and blows it to smithereens. Now Linda, the secretary, because they couldn't come up with a surname that meant secretary, already responsible for 2 murders, must be stopped before she can destroy Commander Straker and Shadow Control. Yeah, also it's kind of one of my favourite episodes as well.
That's actually pretty good as far as these synopsises go.
It certainly is.
It's a pretty accurate description of the episode. And you've already just said it's one of your favourites, which is in marked contrast to last week.
Certainly is.
Did you see the feedback we had on the website?
No, not yet.
So we had someone who said, I'll just read it, from somebody called Tim. Although I don't need all reviews of UFO to be disproportionately positive, I was a bit disappointed in the overall tone of this podcast towards the man who came back. And he goes on, talks about some of the positive things that he saw in the episode. And then says, I've read other UFO reviews that suggest the series at this point was starting to run out of ideas, losing its way, etc. And you yourselves have stated that this episode seems almost like a rehash of Kill Straker. With this in mind, what plot lines or stories would you both have liked to have seen in UFO given the chance? And I guess my response to that is that actually, with the exception of the man who came back, I quite like this bit of the series. And you've just said that you enjoy Psychobombs. I think it's a particularly strong episode. But do you have anything else to say in response to that comment?
Well, no, I think he's right. But because I was particularly down on it. But I also described it as like the Wednesday episode because I knew what was coming. And you had to get through to the weekend. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, there's Thursday and there's Friday. Hooray. So it was kind of, I almost felt like we had to get through it. But, fair enough. It's still an episode of UFO, which is considerably better than most of the other stuff on TV, which is fine by me. But, I have been accused of being overly enthusiastic on the Tin Dog podcast. So I'm mindful of the fact that I'm not overly enthusiastic at all times. Fair enough. It wasn't my favourite episode of all time, but you know what? The performances are what carried it for me, like we said in the review.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I like being positive where I can. I really took against last week's episode, and I have to say, from Psychobombs onwards, I mean, there are ups and downs, but I think the rest of the series is consistently much better. It still feels different from what went before.
Yeah.
But I think we both agree this is a particularly strong episode. And in particular, the guest cast are suitably able to turn on a dime from not knowing they're possessed to suddenly being possessed. It's not the kind of permanent. He's had his mind burnt out, and he's a puppet of the aliens like we had last time. It's actually when they're not being used by the aliens, they forget that they've been taken over, and that's particularly creepy because it means that it can be totally normal and nice one moment, and then suddenly brutal.
Well, that helps with the performances. That helps with. Also, it's so dissimilar to having your brain burnt out that I hadn't even put 2 and 2 together and went, oh, they're the same sort of thing, when they kind of are aliens control people. I mean, that dates back to like the cat taking over people and all sorts from other episodes. So yeah, the aliens liking to control people's minds is more of a, I don't even want to say a meme. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go down. I don't like you using words like that. But it's a recurring theme of the show, so that's all right.
It is, but it's, I think it's done particularly effectively
with a big
here,
green flashing
quite
light,
simply
controlling
because
people.
of the flip. Yeah, and the fact that she genuinely seems freaked out by what's going on, and then suddenly she strangles the bloke at the beginning of the episode, and you're like, she just turns on a dime. And David Collins, similarly, as Clark, does the same. I mean, I think Mike Pratt less so, just because he seems to be a slightly more morose, silent character to start with.
No, that's fair enough.
So that when he starts doing weird stuff, you're like, well, we didn't really get to know him as much as the other two.
No.
And to be honest, I hadn't noticed your the Clark, the Mason stone worker thing.
Well,
until you just mentioned
what's it called? Nominative determinism. I'm always on the lookout for it because I like, in my own writing, I like to have characters who sound kind of. I like giving people interesting names. I'm always on the lookout for really good surnames. So just be grateful that I don't work in, say, a call centre and I make notes about people's cool surnames or anything like that. But anyway, I'm always on the lookout for what characters are called because I think it's really important. Like everyone should have a name. They should never be, third bloke standing at the back or whatever. They should always have really good names. But you're right. The thing is, I was feeling the complete opposite of that with Mike Pratt's character, because I massively rate Mike Pratt, and him dying so young, well, relatively young, was just strange. Because the whole. Are you familiar with the Randall and Hopkirk deceased things? Because I know with a lot of old classic TV, you're either really, really familiar with it or it's just passed you by.
I was going to have an honorary mention of him in Anderson and Doctor Who Watch because he wasn't in any of those things.
No.
But yes, his most famous role is Randall from Randall and Hopkirk, deceased. And yeah, as you're saying, in real life he died first, right?
Yes, because the other guy's still alive, and if we're going to do Doctor Who Watch, his daughter was also in Doctor Who, but we leave it there as well as him.
And he was in.
And he was in
Doctor Who as well.
Exactly. But we're skipping ahead massively.
He's not in this episode.
He's not in this episode, but he's very good. Anyway,
Mike Pratt is in this episode.
I'll tell you who is in the episode.
On him.
I'll tell you who does make an honorary occurrence. The red dress.
Oh yes. So we had the red dress in The Sound of Silence.
Sound of Silence, yes.
Now it's back, and it will be back again in a couple of episodes' time.
You told me to keep an eye out for the famous recurring red dress, as if it's some sort of Twin Peaks motif thing.
Yes. I mean, it's very noticeable in this episode in particular. Yes. I think the attractiveness of Linda has been commented on by many a fan.
Oh, well, that's fine then. We don't need to go there at all. That's not.
Well, unless you want to say anything more about the red dress.
Not really. No, I mean, it's just I was told to keep an eye out for it. I've been a good fan and kept an eye out for it. There you go. And everyone who wears the red dress suits the red dress. I think that's a perfectly reasonable way of putting it. It does everyone a lot of favours, but that's it. So, shall we crash on with an actual review of talking about the actual episode rather than just what people are wearing?
Yes.
Because, neither of us are going to bang on about David Collins' brown suit. Although, to be fair, one thing I will mention later on is David Collins' judo costume. But we'll come to that when we come to it. Yeah. So perhaps I am going to discuss random costumes.
Yes.
Right. So, have you made notes?
I haven't, but I am watching it as we go.
That's fine.
Right. So, if I am going to be critical... It's about how this fits into the grander scheme of things.
Right.
Because we've just had, the previous episode, another attempt to kill Straker, right? And yet this begins with a perfect opportunity for them to kill him. Like, he's in the car with him, he pulls him across and bangs his head. I mean, why not strangle Straker there by the side of the road? yeah, that seems a little kind of odd
No,
to me.
well, the whole build-up of the plot is either to be reasonable, so they've obviously changed their direction of think they're having a chat. They want to have a chat with Shadow and say, "Look, lads, would you mind just stopping?" Which is,
Yes.
you know, what all invaders do. They just go, "Do you mind just not shooting us, please? Would you mind?" Which is basically what the whole thing is for. It's a veiled threat. You know, it's more terrorism than a war. Because
Yes, that's true.
They want
that's
to hand.
true.
So there's clearly been a recent change in direction for the aliens. They've gone right.
Yeah.
Killing Straker, it's not worked. Let's not bother. And then they come up with a plan where they actually could have done it, and they could have gone, "Oh, why didn't we do this one anyway?" You know, it's like they're going out to assassinate Hitler, and then they go, "Oh, hang on, we've got a chance to meet him," and then you go and meet him, and you go, "Well, you know, if I brought a bomb in a case, I could." Oh, too late now.
Yeah.
It's a bit like
Yes.
that. Obviously, I'm
Yes.
not saying Straker's Hitler. What I'm saying is he's the leader of the opposition to the aliens.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's true. That's true. And yes, I suppose it is. This is bigger than Straker. It is. If you don't cease, we will blow up these things in increasing order of importance.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where actually it then allows the aliens to win.
Yeah.
For the majority of the episode.
And there has to be
at
a
the end of
build-up.
this-
It's the rule of three, you know, the narrative rule of three. We have
Yeah.
to do three things, and then the last one doesn't work. It's
Yes.
standard narrative practice because you don't get the payoff if it's less than, if it's more than three, it gets boring. If it's less than three, it's not doesn't work. So three ends up getting repeated. I love the fact that the alien ultimatum was all neatly typed up. And
Yes.
and
Well, it's delivered by the clerk,
Yeah.
so maybe he used his work typewriter to.
well, that's how they find him, isn't
together.
it? Yeah.
What do you think Fairfield Tracker Station does?
Um,
Because this is the first time we've seen this kind of Earth-based
Hang
tracking.
on. No,
thing.
because isn't it exactly the same model and location that's used for the one with the photograph close-up, is it?
Oh, possibly. Actually, now you say that, the model does look a little familiar.
Can I just say all three of them fitting inside of her car, which is described as a BMW, but it looks a lot more Porsche than I would think. Now, I could be wrong that it's a BMW, you know, 70s thing. And it's got loads of repeated things like the Clarks, they're a married couple, and they've got separate beds again, as we see so often in UFO. Time and time again, you've got characters who are apparently happily married, and they're both in their separate thin beds.
In their separate beds.
Yeah. So, good on them. Yay. Not being judgmental at all. Right. So
No.
now you've got your bit. Right. That I had an issue with the car actually. I was thinking, how could all three of them have fitted in that port? I mean, Mr. Mason is not a small lad. But nobody involved is not tall, and it's a really tiny sports car. But they obviously
Well,
do.
they must have done it. I mean, it's not like it's.
So
Here's the shot on location, and then here's the shot
right
in the studio.
Are these
like, they
three
appear to have
people
shot it.
chosen at random by the aliens, or are these three people? Like basically, does the flying saucer land and just attach itself to the first three people around, or because it seems to land in Clark's garden, has he been infiltrated before?
I don't know. My assumption was just that it was that they. Well, I don't know. There's an element of were they just the closest three people in the vicinity? Were they the closest three people who were actually affected by the aliens' glowing thing?
Yeah.
Because it could be one of these things where it doesn't work on 100% of people,
Right.
and it's just a case of they turn it on and it attracts those three for their purposes. I don't know. I think for me the disappointment is that the first one to blow up is David Collins because he's great and I'd love to have seen him more in this. He doesn't get to be on screen for particularly long before he blows things up.
You know,
but he
go on. I've got.
I was
more.
just going to say he is like I said, he is great because he does the innocent, and then the menacing, very quick. I mean, we know that, and we'll talk about his Doctor Who performances later. But we know he has a range.
Yes.
And it's on display here. So I mentioned this last week. I met him at ShadowCon 2 in the green room. He was reticent to do a podcast interview, so he was obviously happy to be there to do his on stage thing. Which, if you get the DVD from ShadowCon 2, well, actually, I don't think you can anymore. So if you have it, it's worth a listen or a watch. He seems an absolutely fascinating figure, and he would kind of give like essentially the teaser to a story, and then wouldn't elaborate. So you'd be like, oh, okay, there's clearly some kind of like stories here, but unless the questioner kind of probes further, which I don't think they felt able to do, then we're not going to get the full story. Yes, he seems an interesting chap in person, if a little reticent to talk.
Well, just yes. I mean, everything he's ever been in, he's kind of just been great. And when you see him in something, your first question, well, one of my first questions is always, why aren't you better known? Why aren't you just ridiculously famous?
I don't know. There's lots of actors that you think.
Yeah. I suppose.
If only they'd had it.
I don't know if he ever did an ongoing soap or anything like that, because that's definitely the way in the UK. When he was at his prime in the 70s and 80s, if he'd done a soap, he would have been like ongoing. You would have just seen him in everything. He would have been some killer in Coronation Street, or some really suspect. Could have been a gangland villain in anything. It would have just been. Yeah. Well, I think this is the same tracking station because they actually. Well, do they blow the model up, or do they just put fire in front of the model? Because that's what it kind of looks like.
I think it blows up and then there's fire in front of it. So I think you get a reasonable amount of stuff.
Right. So they're not going to use that model again. Fair enough.
Don't think so.
No, that's fine. So they've got lovely. It's like, we're going to blow up the tracking station. That I'm guessing is part of the defense system for when Sid's looking the other way. That's fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is perhaps an answer to the questions that we had last week of how does it all work? And then then it's a sort of Skydiver 3, which we've not heard of before.
And there's 4 skydivers now apparently.
There's 4 skydivers.
Yeah.
And we only ever see Sky 1.
Yeah. Well, I think Sky 1 is the front bit. Because I always thought because they are interchangeable, aren't they? Because in the episode where he goes to the gym, he flies off in one, and another Sky 1 arrives to attach itself.
Yes, but one assumes that the front of Skydiver 3 is called Sky 3, but we never. I'm guessing it's the same model, and we'll see when we get to that
isn't
bit.
The writing on the side of the Skydiver, Sky is attached to the front bit, and then Diver,
yes.
So it would be Sky front bit, Diver 3 would be the back bit.
Yes, but I think isn't the number on the
fin.
I'm gonna have to fast forward so we can have a look.
No, we'll see it when we get to it. It's fine.
But we'll see when we get to it. Well, anyway, but we're talking about it now. So I think
I'll tell you what is good.
3. Yes, there's a 3 on the fin of the plane bit on the front of it, and then there's a 3 on the actual Skydiver. So no, they've clearly put fresh decals on the model for this episode. So that's kind of an extra bit of attention to detail.
Yeah, well,
that
is what Anderson did. That is what Century 21 does. It's attention to detail. It just always is.
Yeah.
Did you notice? The bit where they're building. I'm pretty sure I'm doing this one from memory, but I'm pretty sure they're using metric. And they're built. Yeah.
That's another one of those possible future predictions.
Because I know engineers who still work in inches.
Well, the whole of America still works in.
Yeah, but
in inches, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a show being sold to the States, and you would think, oh yeah. But I don't know. You would just think, oh, that's fine, but perhaps I'm wrong.
No, that's Doctor Who made the prediction that we would go decimal, didn't it?
I
think
in
there was just an
63,
assumption.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just an assumption
I just
that
thought
these
you were on the
things would
decimal.
happen.
Oh, we're not living in America or France, where they do strange things like count to 10 and then to 100.
Yes.
We need to go down 3 more meters, and it's just one of those things that you just don't notice now. But in 1970, when this was out, decimalization's just banging on the door, going, "Hello, you're going to have to count properly now." Yeah.
Yep. What do you think of Captain Laritzen's portable TV monitor?
Well, I love it.
When
I absolutely
he's getting
love
ready
it.
to go. It's like the very early iPhone, essentially.
Yeah, well, it would be the equivalent of walking around the house using Skype, or was it? What's the Apple version called? VisiChat or something. FaceTime. That is it.
Yeah.
It's
a much Shadow's FaceTime.
Yeah, exactly.
You should patent that if it's not already done.
It's fine.
But I suppose that's something that Jerry Anderson's always been doing,
always,
isn't it? With you had your Thunderbirds wristwatch things, and this I suppose is less far in the future. But the idea that we'd have all these devices, but I think they've mostly been stationary, haven't they?
Yeah.
And so now you're then like,
but
right,
you can walk
here's
around
one
the
you
house
can
with it,
actually move around,
which is kind of
walk around
cool.
the house.
Yeah, it's telepresence. It's cool. I mean, even the secretary's using a proper, small reel-to-reel dictations thing.
Yes.
It's not reel-to-reel. What am I saying? It's proper cassette. And which is a lovely piece of kit. And that's it.
And then they kill him and steal his fingerprints, which is particularly nasty.
Yeah. Well, it's that whole red dwarf thing where they slice the guy's hand off, isn't it?
I can give you 15, sir. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and then, okay. This guy fails to make it into our watches later on, so I'm going to mention him again now. Did you spot the famous vet in Skydiver 3?
Oh, hang on. I'm not up to that bit at all. You've skipped ahead.
But you didn't spot him when you were watching.
I'm looking at my notes because I made these notes before Christmas.
You made some notes ages ago.
Hang on. Linda listens to Stingray music in her car just like we do.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yes, she does. Stingray music.
Multiple use of pajamas. No, hang on.
Yeah, did you notice that the pajamas that Daniel Clark wears were previously Straker's pajamas?
You see, I think it's just there's a branch of Marks and Spencer's close by, and that's it. I can't read my own handwriting. This is appalling. I'm 47 very soon, and I should be able to read my own handwriting. I can't place the bloke, but he is famous. Oh, that's ridiculous. Why have I written that down?
Well, I'll put you out your misery. It's Christopher Timothy, who played James Herriot in All Creatures Great and Small.
Of course. Who's currently on Channel 5 driving around with Peter Davison.
Is he?
Yes, there's the reality show with Peter Davison in it on Channel 5.
Reuniting the people from...
And they're driving around Yorkshire in period cars. And apparently Janet Fielding's been on Twitter saying that James Herriot's taking... Not James Herriot, what's he called? Sorry, you said his name a second ago. Christopher Timothy is taking his life in his hands because she's been driven by Peter Davison before, and it's terrifying. So
this is what we hear, yes.
So
I mean, they obviously go back and a long way because they were on Girl Creatures and Great Small together. But anyway, he's a short-lived shadow operative because obviously he gets blown up in this his first outing in Skydiver. Poor chap.
Oh, it happens.
But I suppose this was before he was well known. He was just a bit part in this.
So basically, you've got your 3 characters, you've got your 3 attempts, and the last one's going to be the secretary. They're going to investigate the secretary using the tried and tested UFO technique of using Paul as a gigolo again.
Yes.
Right, Paul, stop it. Well,
it's not his fault that he's irresistible to every lady that turns up on the show. Well, yes, it is a bit of a cliche, is it not?
Yeah, I can live with it, but do we want to?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So all 3 of them are there, but yeah, the investigation bit is kind of the dip in narrative, shall we say? the bit where it becomes just a tiny bit more dull.
Yes, because they have, like you say, they've been building up. We had, and the Skydiver thing comes very quickly on the heels of the Fairfield thing. It's quite a pacey episode, I suppose,
I think
because
that's probably
we've got those three.
I like it so much, yeah.
You've got the three things. It's not like, oh, here, what's the aliens' plot? Well, they've told us straight at the beginning, and then they get to carry out some of it. I suppose it's a bit like it's again, it's one of those more Captain Scarlett-esque episodes of UFO. There is some crossover of kind of themes, isn't there? Really,
yes.
with the UFOs invading, and it's like their equivalent of, this is the voice of the Mysterons. We're going to take our revenge by doing this.
Yeah. Well, we know you can hear us,
and they actually get to win, which obviously the Mysterons do in several episodes of Captain Scarlet. That's one of the great things about Captain Scarlet, is that you don't know that Captain Scarlet's going to succeed because he fails sometimes. And the same with this is that the stakes are raised because they've already blown up a skydiver and a tracking station. I mean, yes, like we said, they're not blowing up anybody that we know. All the shadow operatives are bit parts. So everybody who gets killed is somebody that we don't already care about.
Yeah, but
I think they could have raised the stakes even higher by having somebody that we knew.
Yeah, but that goes against the rules, because once you've done that, you can't show the show in order, and you have to have them in a certain. Yeah, you can't just show random episodes.
That is true. That is true. But
then that's our approach to it. It's like you can't show episodes of Buffy in any order, or Angel in any order. Otherwise, you go, why is that person now a demon, or what's going on there? We're used to considerably more episodic, long-term story arc, and that's possibly one of my issues. Is I keep trying to overlay that onto this program, and that's not how this program was pitched. That's why people argue over what order the episode should be in. Because we're used to it. We want it to be that. We want to see character development. We want to see all sorts of that nonsense that we're always banging on about. And perhaps it's there, perhaps it's not. I don't know. It's all arguable.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that, but you're right. Here's another fantastic fact. Mike Pratt wrote Little White Bull. I've just seen that in tiny...
What?
You see, you're just so young. Right. There's an extremely famous Tommy Steele song, which was about 15 years before my time, possibly 20.
Right.
But he was famous for singing this song that was based, once there was a little white bull. Right. It's appalling. And that's what Tommy Steele was kind of famous for. Right. And you can make a career on the back of practically anything. Anyway... but Mike Pratt was the person who wrote the song, and it was like a ridiculously famous song for its time. And going, oh yeah, he wrote that's quite impressive. He wrote a massive hit. It's a weird song, but it's all about. I'm trying to compare it with other songs without bringing up Rolf Harris, so I'm not going to. Or Max Bygraves. It was kind of that. A song almost for kids kind of thing. It would be like the Shark song that was in the charts last year that everyone knew if you had a kid. Yeah.
Oh, Baby Shark.
It was kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was one of those songs that just everybody would know anyway. But he wrote it now, and that's fine. Sorry, I'm just reading the tiny notes in the corner of my pages. But yeah. So, yeah, it's a pacey episode. I can see your argument about the whole Mysteron thing. They've told them what they're going to do. So it's the most Captain Scarlet of the stories for UFO, really. Because that's what they do.
Yes, and there is also the element of taking people over.
Yeah.
Which obviously we've said is not unique to this episode. But it's that... typically a Captain Scarlet episode would begin with the threat, and then they take somebody over, and that person then goes on to carry out the threat. And this is written by Tony Barwick, who obviously wrote a lot of Captain Scarlet. So it's perhaps not entirely surprising that he wrote this.
Oh, he's brought his own themes with him.
He's brought that. I mean, obviously he wrote a lot of UFO, so it's not like he was constantly copying Captain Scarlet, but it's just it makes sense knowing that he's the author. That he worked on Captain Scarlet. But it works. It's a detective story because, as you say, they're trying to figure out what's going on before it's too late, piecing things together. And it has, like we said, it has menacing guest performances from the visiting cast.
So right, you've got your build up. She's trying to go and to get into into the headquarters, and she's going to try and blow it up. That's your payoff. That's your end game.
Yeah.
Now, that's perfectly decent, and then you've got some sort of very similar stuff coming in a few weeks' time with Time Lash, where you've got a whole explosions inside the spoilers, but it's inside the main headquarters setup thing. And now I know it's meant to be all touching, the whole thing where she's like has to reassert her. That's a recurring theme in UFO by far. The aliens have got you, you're going to win for them, and then you reassert your humanity, but it costs you your own life.
Yes.
Does keep coming up. But it's kind of an important message anyway. If anything, it is the message of the whole series.
Yes.
So,
but I suppose in this case it's slightly inverted, because at the end, which is it's weird, isn't it? Because we tend to see, you get to see here's another shot of the UFO doing its thing, reasserting control over them, and then at the end, Straker says to her, "Oh, the UFO has been destroyed," and he doesn't know it has been, but obviously it has been at that point. But she still goes ahead, and it's like there's a time lag between the UFO being destroyed and her regaining control, which she doesn't.
Okay.
She doesn't regain control. She goes ahead, which seems a bit odd.
Can I just? You're right. Now, I've just realised because something has just happened on my TV screen, and I don't know if it's my disc or whether it's in the actual narrative. Now, I'm pretty sure it was on the DVD as well, so I don't think it's a trigger. But at about 41 minutes and say 20 seconds, right? Let's call it that. Okay.
Is this on the DVD or the Blu-ray?
Blu-ray.
Because the timings will be different. Okay.
I don't know which one.
So the timings will be different on the DVD. It'll be earlier. No, hang on. Yeah, it'll be earlier than that. Tell me what you're looking at.
Okay. Paul and the secretary are wandering through. They're having their date in the forest.
Yes,
right?
and they're kissing
yeah.
and throwing things into
that's
water.
That's it. Yeah, she throws a stick into the water, and the screen freezes. Now, is that a layer transition? Well, it's Blu-ray, so it won't be. Or is it a weird freeze of the shot, like she's controlling time?
Well, I'm just watching it on the DVD, and I will tell you, I don't think it is a thing.
Yeah, because my kit tends not to have layer transitions, or noticeable ones anyway.
Yeah.
It was just something weird that I did notice now, and I must ask about that.
Oh no, it does. Yeah, no, you're right. It does.
Right. So you've got the DVD on.
So there is.
I've got the Blu-ray.
Yes, she throws it, and then it sort of lands in the water in slow motion.
Yeah.
And then it sort of pauses for
half a second.
It's like.
It's as if she's
possibly as much as a second.
Yeah, it's as if she's got powers, and now perhaps that's where the commercial goes.
No. There's always a fade to black for a commercial. That would be a weird place to have the commercial.
Yeah,
it's too close to the end of the episode for it to be a commercial. I mean, these days you'd have commercials all over the place, but no, I think that's right.
Fine. So it wasn't just me thinking.
No, that's very weird. So
right.
you're kind of suggesting that's a slight precursor to Time Lash, that she has a certain ability to. Wow, that dress is very short.
Now, can I just say, Sylvia was in charge of all the costumes, and
yes.
I would. I've been meaning to buy the Jerry Anderson biography, but
right.
I know there's a Sylvia one as well, isn't there?
Quite possibly.
I'm thinking for my birthday, I might be asking for both of those of people, because I'd like to hear the stories from both sides, and I also want to hear her thinking on some of these costumes.
Yes.
Now, admittedly, that would be better if she was available as, say, a convention guest, where you could just go, right, Sylvia, defend this lot. And you would just kind of present them in front of her. And I suspect the arguments for many of it would be, it's the 60s. It freezes exactly the way that the titles freeze when it goes UFO.
Yes, you'd expect it to kind of go dum diddle dum diddle.
Right, so that's what that is. Sorry, I've just gone back to it because I wanted to double check.
Yes.
So, yeah, I would just love to know what some of the thinking is. Now, I know it was the 60s, it was the 70s, what we were thinking, but you are indeed correct. But, there are photographs of my relatives wearing clothes exactly the same length as that because that's just what was in.
That's just what was in, yeah, no, you're right.
But it wasn't what was in the 80s. But, they're not going to be able to give the 80s in the 70s, yeah. Moving on, right. So, we've got our setup.
So what do you make of Straker's decision to bring her to the studio?
As always...
The whole, I want to fight it on my own terms kind of thing.
Wrong. They need a Hangar 18 thing, somewhere neutral, to take people that they can convince people is the headquarters.
Yes.
Because it's not like he doesn't know people. Or he could have taken them somewhere that looks like headquarters, that would be, say, a film set. And then that could have got destroyed, but it was actually on a film set. Because they're making a sci-fi film. That would have been a different twist that they could have done.
That's true. I suppose the thing is they still at this point, the problem is they don't know how it works.
Yeah, because
they don't know until the very end. They don't realise what it is. It's like, it's the electricity. They don't realise.
No, the scientist's got a crazy. Was it? Hang on.
He's got. A theory.
It's the third. Yet another wild theory from the Doctor. Third in a row. I've got here. Let's not forget, it's just another weird theory. The Supercharged Humans, right? How do you feel about that? Because for me, it just reminded me of, and obviously this came later, I'm not an idiot, The Matrix, where they're just going on about how humans are batteries that power the Matrix. And it was like, so there is like untapped energy inside of us all kind of thing.
Yes, I mean, I don't think that's particularly a new idea, is it? That's just... And they don't really go into it, do they? It's literally just it's another thing that the UFO does. It has this thing that can beam control signals into their heads,
which can apparently permeate all the way down to Shadow headquarters deep underground.
Yes, and I suppose there are stories, aren't there, of people in extremis or extremis. Difficult circumstances, being able to do superhuman things, right? Like kind of like somebody's been got a child stuck under a car, and they suddenly
it's always a child under a car in every example.
It's always a child under a car, isn't it?
They're very, very inconsiderate parents who've always sticking children underneath cars in order to prove how strong they are.
Yes,
but
or in the case of Superman, it's a child lifting a car.
Yeah.
For no other reason than to kind of show his new foster parents that he is Superman. Yes.
But this is like converting your matter into explosives, which
and also
from a
I've
weight
just
loss
noticed
point
at
of
the
view,
end,
it's ideal.
The guy shoots at her, doesn't he? Well, he's not shooting at her. He's shooting warning shots at her, isn't he?
Right.
But I wonder whether like they can deflect bullets or whether that's just a step too far.
Right. I love the fact that Straker's just sent into the cell where the secretary is.
Yeah.
I can't call her the secretary. That's just not on.
Linda.
Where Linda is, right? So
Linda
is in the room, this big room.
Yeah.
And he's just sent somebody in to stand with her, and then in the next scene he's going to his second in command. He's going, so she could be a psychobomb. She could have all the power of the universe and just use all the electricity. Like, you've just sent somebody in there to watch over her. Why don't you put him on the outside of the door? You don't care about your staff at all. He just.
I mean, we know this about Straker, don't we? We know he's
needs.
He can. Yeah. He makes the computer decision, which is the. What was it? Computer Affair. The whole thing about she acts like if she'd acted differently, all of the interceptors would have been destroyed rather than one. Yeah. I think you know that Straker kind of knows that some decisions are choosing between one set of people dying and another set of people dying. But yes, it does seem even with that, it seems irresponsible to stick a guard in there with her when they don't know what she's capable of. And we don't know what happened to him. We the next thing we see is that she's in the control room and she's knocking people left, right, and centre. We don't know whether she killed him. We don't know whether she just laid him out. We just know that him firing a warning shot was not enough to deter her from getting out of the room. So
also, she throws someone against what I always assumed were just some scaffolding pipes to hold up the roof. And some sparks appear for no reason. So is she giving off electricity, or is it just a bit of excitement? And I love that. Everyone should have a massive box that says "Danger High Voltage" in it. And they should.
What? So that if you're a psychobomb, you can come in and go. You know exactly where to go.
I know where I'll be
in
going
order to touch the cables together. Yeah. Yeah.
So she goes.
But it is weird that she doesn't cease to be controlled. The control goes on for that little bit longer.
Yeah.
So that she.
But she's still.
Ends up electrocuting
she's still
herself.
crying to show her humanity. Yeah.
Yes.
And then she just goes, "Oh, I'm just."
And then
that's it.
Paul can kind of mourn over his latest.
Yeah.
Conquest.
I was hoping neither of us would say the word, but yeah. Actually, no.
Sorry.
Latest love interest, because I don't think he got anywhere with her because he didn't have long enough. They were in a park, and let's leave it there. And then he brought her in.
Yes.
That's it.
And then
don't touch the cables.
Straker walks off. Straker walks off, and he's left there, slightly distraught.
She goes, and she's. I'm a couple of seconds behind you, but anyway. Yes.
So it's a somewhat bleak ending again because this is UFO. We have succeeded, but at what cost? We didn't manage to save the poor psychobomb who was just being controlled against her will. So it still ends on a bit of a downer because, hey, that's how UFO goes.
It really is.
A lot of the time.
Almost all the time. Oh look, somebody's dead again, and that's it. And let's just help up our friends off the floor, and back to work as normal, lads.
But that was as close to a commentary as we've come.
It certainly is. To be fair, I think that's what we should. If ever we do a different show, perhaps we should do that instead.
We should just do commentary.
Put the episode on, and we'll do a commentary over it. We'll do that with whatever we do next. Because that would be a different Christopher Timothy in the end credits. It would be a different take on say The Prisoner if we ever decided to do that, because we could chat about the episode as it was on, and then because nobody else has done that at all. So let me see. Do you want to do the Doctor Who thing?
Well, let's do Anderson Watch first. Yes. Did you spot
done
anybody?
The Tony Barwick stuff. You know what? I did spot people. That was it. It's there's a guy at the beginning who was so ridiculously identifiable, and I think it was somebody who used to do voiceovers and stuff. He was the equivalent years ago of the man who does the X Factor voiceover. And
right.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about Linda Simmons' boss?
I wasn't, but go on. No, he's in Shadow Headquarters, the person I'm thinking of.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I haven't got anybody.
No, I think he was sort of really big in the 70s. Anyway, but Linda Simmons' boss, who would that be then?
Well, that would be the actor Alexander Davion.
Right.
Who, and I think this now completes our complement of people who flew on board Zero X in Thunderbirds Are Go, with the exception of Bob Monkhouse.
Who does not appear in UFO, to the best of my knowledge.
Who does not appear in UFO, but I think someone will correct me if I'm wrong. I think we have now had all the other four space the astronauts, and this is Space Captain Greg Martin.
I'm sorry, I can't let that one go. Bob Monkhouse. What?
Sorry, you didn't know that. Right. Okay. So Thunderbirds Are Go. Okay. Right. You know the plot of Thunderbirds Are Go. There's a spaceship going to Mars. The Hood sabotages it, and then they reconvene a year later, and Thunderbirds kind of protect it, and then it comes back, and they have to stop it from. They have to rescue it because it rescued the crew because they're all going to crash.
Okay.
Right? Yes. And there are 5 astronauts that go on the mission.
Yeah.
One of whom is played by Bob Monkhouse. Yes.
Okay. Yes. I have.
And the other 4.
Words.
Well, yeah, you'll have to watch it again then.
And then I'll go, how didn't I notice?
Yes, well, I didn't for years. I think it was only more recently when I saw it. I was like, and he's in the credits, and you're like, Bob Monkhouse? And then he's one of the astronauts. So this guy who played Linda Simmons' boss, I think he is now the 4th member of that crew who has appeared in a role in in UFO.
Okay then.
So there you go.
There you go.
The other actor we need to cover now, and I spent the whole episode going, he looks really familiar. He looks really familiar. Why do I know him? And I know that I do this every time I watch the episode. And it's the dude who's in charge of security at Skydiver base. Right? Did you think he looked familiar?
Couldn't place him for toffee.
Right. Well, so the reason is he's Nigel Gregory, who we covered in Sound of Silence because he plays the tramp. Who gets bumped off by... And that's the thing. He's playing such a different role. And I'll have even said when we did
Silas
Anderson Watch for that he comes back later, and then I completely forgot until I was watching this, and I was like, why is he familiar? That's because he's him.
Well, there you go. I mean, what more can I say?
And then we have the director. We should talk about the director, who
Jeremy Summers.
Jeremy Summers. Yeah. Did you recognise the name?
No, literally, I just went, rings a bell. No idea. Moving on.
Well, so he directed The Long Sleep, which we'll come to at the end of this series of UFO, and then he went on to direct 17 episodes of The Protectors. So, starting out for Jerry Anderson here, and then carrying on with Protectors. So let's finish off with Doctor Who Watch then. So tell me, who did you spot?
Right. Okay. Well, the big one in the episode is quite definitely Mr. Clark. It's David Collins. That's the big one for the Doctor Who people, because on TV he played the person who pretends to be the Doctor in Mordrin and Undead, or Mordrin. He plays Mordrin, and also he's played the alternative 4th Doctor on Big Finish. In Full Fathom 5, I think it was called, which is incredibly dark and brilliant, in one of the Unbounds.
And who was in that with him?
With Straker.
With Straker, yes, with Ed Bishop.
It was the only time I managed to get Ed Bishop in to do Big Finish, which is a massive shame, because that means he A, was willing to do it, and B, we could have had UFO on audio.
But then he died.
I'll tell you what, there was a guy on a Big Finish about 3 weeks ago that I was reviewing, and if ever you need to replace Ed Bishop, you've got someone. The voice was spot on. I shall flip back through my notes and find out who it was, because I was like, that is spookily close. That is well impressive. I was thinking, oh yeah, well, filling in the cast there. But then I was thinking, no, let's have him bumped off or something. I don't know. Hadn't quite decided where I want to go with this. But it would be so good. Especially now that Jamie Anderson is actually writing for Big Finish as well as directing.
Yeah.
Which is very nice.
Mostly writing Doctor Who.
He did this month's main range, one of this month's main range releases, Black Thursday, which is about a coal mining accident in Wales. It's a pseudo-historical, and it's the one with the chameleon, which is kind of cool. They've got John Coolshaw playing chameleon on that one.
Right. Yeah. We're definitely going off
Certainly
track
are. Right, so yes, he was in that. He's very good. And there you go.
And also his other 2 TV Doctor Who roles.
I know he was Silver in Sapphire and Steel.
Yes. You'd be forgiven for not knowing one of them, because I didn't know for years it was him, because he's wearing lots of makeup and masks. But the other one is very famous.
Well, I'm just not getting it. What is it?
Robots of Death.
Of course. Do not throw hands at me.
Yeah. He plays the... Spoilers, if you've not seen the Robots of Death. He plays the undercover detective on board
with robophobia.
the sand miner. Yes, and he goes mad because he can't cope with the fact that robots can kill people. Yeah.
Which is weird, because if you actually think about it, the more likely scenario is that he goes mad because robots can't kill people. Because it's a much more easier for someone to have an industrial accident, because they're just machines. And I could seriously have like a good 3-hour conversation about how more likely it is that robots are killers than not killers.
Yeah, but we've had the thingamajig, 3 laws drummed into us for all this time, haven't we?
The three and a bit laws, Asimov's laws, they're just made up for telly. Well, they're made up for books anyway.
They're made up for logic problems.
Which is lovely, but I so want to write. I've been working on a short story for someone, and I've basically set it on a crashed spaceship of a seed ship, and the only survivors of the seed ship were the robots, and some of them are beginning to think that they've had their memories altered because no one believes in the existence of human beings because only the robots survived. And so they've created their own society and everything. So it's kind of, that's where I'm going with that one. So I've been just giving a lot of thought over to robots and stuff like that. So yes, I might even hit Robophobia and Robots of Death. So yes, of course he was in that. But anyway, what was the missing story that he did?
He was Vorus in Revenge of the Cybermen. The guy who builds the rocket to blow up the Cybermen. But he's under lots of
he's got a
Vogan
massive
makeup.
forehead and, yeah.
He's got a massive forehead, and it was one of those things where once I knew it was him and I watched it again, I was like, okay, yes, you can tell from the voice, but you can't really see that it's him.
Got it. Right, so what else we got?
Yes. Right, we have 3 more Doctor Who people to talk about
3?
before we can wrap this
3?
episode up.
I didn't see any of them.
3,
Just hit me with them, please.
Well, I would forgive you for 2 of them because I didn't spot them for obvious reasons. So one is Aidan Murphy,
I've got it.
Who played...
Right, I've got the
you got
one.
it?
You know the bloke before when I said it's his voice, and I think he did carpet commercials and he was voiceover man. Him, right?
Right.
He's the person from 1984 story. It's the Silurians and the Sea Devils.
Yes.
It's one of my favourites, and everybody else hates it. Warriors on the Cheap, Warriors of the Deep. Yes,
indeed.
He's the base commander.
Done. Well
it's
done.
him. He's the person I was going.
Yes.
I know him.
And in this,
right.
And it's all the more appropriate because in that he's playing the base commander of a sea base. Sea Base 4, and in this he's playing the guy who's about to go on Skydiver 3.
Yes, and for the record, I have absolutely no issues
both...
with that story whatsoever, and I'll take on anyone who does.
Oh, I like it a lot more because, like many Doctor Who's, I read it, and it works so much better as a book where you can't see the dodgy sets and the lighting and the dodgy Merc.
No, it's a great book. I didn't even. I was 12 when I saw that episode. I didn't see the Merc as dodgy whatsoever.
Yes. So, yeah, no, he's one of those ones where you go, oh, yes, he's A in Doctor Who, and B, his role in this links to the one that he played. And in both cases, he dies.
Everyone dies in that. Yes. So
anyway, bonus fact about him, which I didn't realise till I was doing the research on this. Did you ever watch the Oneidin line?
I'm aware of it. I couldn't. I know it's about some sailing ships and a sort of trading thing going on. That's about it.
Yes. Well, so there was a character in it called Daniel Fogarty.
I'm taking your word for it.
And Daniel Fogarty was played by both Michael Billington, Paul Foster, and Tom Adams, who we've just been talking about.
Why did they do that then?
It was a long-running show that he clearly... I think Billington played him first, and then he clearly didn't want to renew his contract, and so they had to get someone else in to play him. Because I think it ran for about sort of 8-10 series, didn't it, the Oneidin line?
Had a great theme tune,
But just one of those things of going, here's another one. They're both in the same episode together of UFO, and then they both went on to play the same character in the Oneidin line.
Nice. Anyone else?
Well, yes. So very quickly, we have Hans de Vries, who played a security man, and he was a Cyberman in Tomb of the Cybermen, so you wouldn't have noticed him. And then Aidan Murphy, who played the guard in Room 22, was Hippias in The Time Monster.
I like The Time Monster.
And no, I didn't spot him.
It's been a while. But you know what? As we chat about this, thousands of miles away on the other side of the world, there are a lot of Doctor Who fans currently at Gallifrey. So, in order to make me feel better, I'm going to watch Time Monster.
And you know what? I've literally just been to America for work, and I was in LAX airport on Wednesday last week, and I was like thinking, I'm here. I was flying to Phoenix. I was flying to Phoenix, so I flew to LA and then was in LA for about 2 hours before flying out again. And I was like thinking, I'm here a week early for Gallifrey.
Oh, that's awful. See, I've never made it. It
was a little bad.
Furthest I've ever made it was New York. Never been to Gallifrey. Always wanted to go.
Well, I have been to Gallifrey a couple of times, so it's not like I haven't been before. It was just sad to kind of think, here I am, for work purposes in a state that's just next door to where Galley's going to be. And I flew back on Monday, and there's all these people kind of talking about their Gallifrey trips beginning as they fly out.
Well,
oh well.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was
Psychobombs.
Bombs.
A smashing story, absolutely enjoyable. One of my favourites. Because you're right, it's got pace, it's got style, groovy style, and I'm just rambling. So anyway,
and the chop just won't stop. Is that?
Hey kids, what are we talking about next time? No,
Hong
we're not.
Kong
We're talking
Phooey,
about reflections on the water. In the water,
which
not water.
Has a terrible reputation.
Yeah,
it turns
don't get that
out.
at all. Absolutely, yeah.
But I quite like it, and we'll be talking about that next time.
To the person who said last time that we were down on the episode just like everyone else, next time we're going to be excited about this episode, and everyone else is going to be down on it. So it's nicely balanced. Yeah.
It's nicely balanced out, yes. That seems like a good place to leave
until
things,
next
Michael.
time, my name's Michael. Be seeing you.
I'm Luke. Be seeing you too.